Right, ladies and gentlemen, my talk starts. And I'm really glad that Professor Mike Holzer is here this morning, because he is the man, and also Professor Ruiz in Bogota, whom I followed for intercar. He is a pioneer in intercar presbyotic correction, and following him, I was, by the grace of God, was very fortunate to get this wonderful tool in my hands to do some study, both for CE mark and FDA approval, and we got both. So I'm quite pleased about that. So phaco-techniques is a word that I coined in because I use 5 different technologies, and upfront I promise my patients the ultimate outcome, the so-called zero that everybody demands, especially in my premium IOLs. This talk I'm doing tomorrow in Hall J. But let me go back to the study we did in 2010. Until today, I completed 1,520 eyes, and I call it femtosecond laser refractive cataract surgery, standing for FRCS, maybe being in England for 20 years. I'm influenced by the word, and it nicely suits in here. So this is the machine that I'm using. I don't want to waste much of your time because Professor Holzer has already covered what this machine can do. This is a multi-purpose machine because it can not only do cataract surgery, but it can also raise flaps, do astigmatic keratotomies, do pockets for you, do all kinds of things. And has a microscope attached to it, which I'm going to show you how it helps me with my pediatric cases. But I don't want to go into all this because the time given to me is 15 minutes, and within that time I want to finish off my talk. And these are all the various things we were looking for, especially the effective lens position and certain tricky situations. And some of these tricky situations is what I'm going to. And the study is on diameter, centration, and circularity. This already Professor Holzer has covered, so let me skip that. It's very accurate, no need to keep on bragging about it. This is how accurate it is. You get this kind of capsulotomy, and initially I was a little worried about, I was very careful. I was using a simple Hoskins forceps to hold the capsule and gently remove it. But after 4 or 5 cases, when I went into, you can see, I don't even need to remove, I just use the tip to aspirate the capsule and get on. A gentleman a minute ago was asking intumescent white cataracts. We get this kind of capsulotomy, free-floating, and you don't need to be a hydrodissection nor a fragmentation in intumescent white cataracts. Today we also have intumescent brown cataracts, it's a different matter. So a computer-controlled and a OCT-guided machine is wonderful, and you can see the darkest grade 5 cataract is what we did, and we did all kinds of patterns here. And then of course, no complications in all those cases, not a single drop of nucleus. This is because I personally stay away 1,000 microns away from the postal capsule from the beginning till today. The reason I do that is even when we are chopping, we're not really chopping right up to the postal capsule, we're only chopping 50%. So with that belief at heart, I stayed away, and I think that is the reason why this has happened. So this is a video, and this is the challenging. Right. This is quite interesting because later on I thought, where else can I use, apart from using regular, straightforward temporal cataract surgery? Why not move on to some challenging situations? Because when you have a machine like this, by the grace I started first, but then I slowly moved on to some difficult areas. Because in a crystal lens, I did crystal lenses for some time, and then I stopped because of the Z syndrome and situations like that, and I realized capsulotomy is the most important element if you want to use an accommodative IOL. Today I use a 5.5 millimeter capsulotomy, and with absolute centration and circularity, and you showed, Dr. Holzit also showed you the strength of the capsulotomy. So I am back again with accommodative IOLs because I do mix and matches a lot, dominant eye in accommodative and non-dominant eye in multifocal lens. Now here, if you see this kind of thick calcified capsule, I'm sure it will be very difficult for us to do with the forceps or with a cystotome. So I felt these are situations where you find a femtosecond laser extremely useful. I don't think I would have completed this procedure so nicely but for the femtosecond laser. So in such a challenging situation, you will find femtosecond laser extremely useful. So not only this, I mean, this is a very thick capsule. I'm sure you come across aberrations in the zonular insertions, the anterior zonules. In those areas also I found it very useful. Then I don't need to tell you much about intumescent cataracts. I'm probably the first person in the world to do the first intumescent cataract, and believe me, my eyes dropped out of my socket when I saw the results. And because the machine has an attached, you will see a manual, capsulotomy. It's in the same child, in this 4-year-old, and on this side you will see the victors. In a second you will see the difference between the two capsulotomies. The struggle is clearly evident in the result. So I find now I don't do any of my pediatric cataracts manually. I mean, I have just all of them under the Victus machine only. So here is the capsulotomy from the manual, and you can see the beautiful capsulotomy here. What about certain traumatic situations where you will find it is an anterior capsular tear, and you will notice you can nicely dog that, and that anterior capsular tear you can have a nice capsulotomy all around, so that will nicely complete your capsulotomy. In fact, this child has also a tiny little tear in the posterior capsule as well. But it was carefully completed and had an excellent lens put in and nicely centered, and first day post-op, everybody was happy. Then what about a retinal detachment surgery already done in this 11-year-old, and with silicone oil and a little bit of silicone oil in the anterior chamber? You can see I was worried that the laser may not penetrate, but you can see once again you got a nice, something to learn here is there is an incomplete cut in this area, but that can happily be completed. That you can see that incomplete area, that bit there, and that can be nicely completed manually, so not an issue. And at the end of the day you are going to get an absolutely nicely centered and a very circular capsulotomy. So I found it very beneficial in those kind of situations as well. And once again, the rest of the cataract surgery is very much like anything that all of us do. Only one thing I found is that all cataract surgeons, I mean the ophthalmologists in general, are paranoid about the precision. Now, and this is a precision instrument, that we're all using, whether it's LensX or Victus or any other company. These instruments are invented. For now they are expensive, but I'm sure while we walk into the future, these things will become less expensive. So the next case, of course, is another one of the things, I mean, you can see the absolute centration there, and they want. Now here is a cornea that I did 3 months ago, and then 3 months later I dropped the eye and did a capsulotomy, but because I did it with viscoelastic inside, I opened the wound and did it. I did not get, and also it was an irregular, already torn capsule, so I had to do a little bit of manual manipulation to complete the capsulotomy. And you will also see that I've used the scissors here to, that incomplete cut I needed to complete. And here you can see the air bubbles of the capsulotomy, and I'm slowly trying to complete that. There is a small synetia there that's going to stop me from completing this, but once again, that is not an issue. The scissor was used there as well. After that, any intumescent situation, I personally don't think you need a hydrodissection. You can simply use irrigation aspiration kit to complete your surgery. And the child, in fact, got an excellent visual acuity as well, which is about 6/12. And this is an MI16 lens of partial arm. This is the end, and once again, the patient is happy. Here is a case where I did. The patient had an ICL put in about 7 years ago by me. He lives in Saudi Arabia. So he came back with cataract. So with the ICL inside the eye, I dopped the eye and I got you can see the only important thing is to identify the anterior capsule, because that is the ICL and that is the anterior. You see how we mark with this machine, 3 spots. And you mark both vertical and horizontal directions, and then you mark the capsule here. The only thing here, because when the ablation is coming from the posterior aspect of the anterior capsule, it goes a little bit into the lens itself. So this is another area, we're going to face a lot of this in future, because a lot of us are using a lot of ICLs, and today in India, some companies like IOCare are also making these postage chamber lenses. So here is the video part of it, and you can see that nice, beautiful capsulotomy behind the ICL. Now I'm going to remove the ICL and then complete the rest of the, you can see ICL can be removed to the same. Actually, when I put the ICL in, it was a temporal incision like anyone else, but here I chose to go through a scleral incision. I didn't want to go through the same incision. So here is the capsulotomy that was done with this machine, the femtosecond laser, and the rest of it is phaco. I sometimes think when I see this equipment, I'm there to stay for some time. So we're coming to the end of the time, and in fact this is almost my last video anyway. There is another one I did in a child. I did an anti-capsulotomy and also a posterior capsulotomy of 3 millimeters. And that is another feature that's going to happen. Unfortunately, the video, my guys forgot to include it in here. Believe me, that is another futuristic thing. The first posterior capsulotomy was done by Dr. Stradulka, and that's it. So really not much to share here. Just to thank all those doctors abroad like Steve Slade and Christian Hola, the CEO for Technolas, who gave me this wonderful opportunity. And thank you all.